Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents Visualizing is Realizing by Mark Victor Hansen. Narrated by Jared Zach.
Preface. You have the enormous power to realize your heartfelt dreams, hopes, prayers, and desires. Visualizing is a God-given gift that is hidden inside you from birth. You have to become aware of this inward talent and resource, and to learn how to use it. It behooves you to practice visualizing your life to perfection in order to realize every good thing that you have ever desired. Visualizing has magical, mystical, and proven abilities to help you realize your destiny. Know that the best will happen to and for you. Fulfill your most exciting visions for what's possible. Awaken to abundance, riches, and unlimited wealth. Heal you from sickness, disease, and pain. Help you discover the love of your life. Work at your right livelihood. Raise you from poverty to prosperity and abundance. Build unstoppable self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-worth in you. Find your true love and romance. Rise to unimaginable heights of success, achievement, and happiness. Experience and express breakthrough freedom, opportunities, and increases. Orchestrate an extraordinary life worth living. Stimulate the possibilities for you to go further and faster in life. Give you a second or third chance. Overcome your fear, doubt, anxieties, and worries. Give you leadership abilities. Manifest new perspectives. Help you learn, earn, and return vastly more. Discover explosive blessings. Live longer, with a higher quality of life and living. Become a person of respect and renown, a record maker. Leave a historical legacy worthy of you. Increase your capacity to receive and give. Make your journey through life worthwhile, fun, and joyously impactful. See that the world has yeses in your future. After going bankrupt in 1974 and feeling trashed, unworthy of life, and generally useless, I started reading and studying self-help books, listening endlessly to positively motivational audios, attending positive thinking churches, and attending uplifting and inspiring lectures. My life dramatically changed for the better. Before that time, I had never heard about visualization as a technique. Suddenly, I saw it used by every superstar in business, writing, sports, ministry, politics, and life. Wow! Once I learned it, my earnings skyrocketed. My life force energy returned. I became a happy, healthy, contributing member of the human race again. My life improved in every way and has relentlessly continued to do so. I am proud to have learned that visualizing is realizing. I am excited to share these life-transforming principles with you now. When we meet, I want to hear your story of dramatic and exciting transformation and realization through visualization. May this book inspire you in the depth of your soul to master visualizing in order to live a life of health, wealth, happiness, and abundance in all areas. May I congratulate you in advance as you proceed to exceed your expectations on this wondrous journey. Happy reading! Mark Victor Hansen, Scottsdale, Arizona, September 2020. The Principles of Creative Visualization. Begin with your feeling nature. Relaxed awakeness. Controlled reverie. Come from the end result. 1. Who creates your life? Who creates your life? You do. The good news is that you can create it to be as wonderful, as magnificent, joyous, and treasure-filled as you like. The mind says that whatever you're ready for is ready for you. That readiness, the preparation state of the mind, is 87% visually oriented. Webster says that visualization is the mental imagery of the mind. Whatever picture you put in your mind is what's going to show up. What you impress, you express. If you get into the highest level, the depth of your inner being, your every mental impression becomes an expression. You get into what psychologist Dr. Gene Houston calls the sacred psychology of the human mind, because you live full-time in your own human biocomputer. It can either be heaven in there or hell. Who's at choice? You are. Once you start playing with the tissue of your mind, and you understand that what you impress, you express, you can ask yourself whether you want to play with the best or the worst. If you're going to play the game, why not play with the best that exists? If you play with the best, it creates more of the best. When you're playing with the stuff of mind tissue, you start sculpting it with your inner eye and say, how would it look if it was marvelous? How would it look if it was perfect? As Christ said, "It will be done according to you, according to your belief." Your real belief is what manifests in your life. So if you've got sickness in your life, it's because you've got sick thoughts. If you've got health in your life, you've got healthy thoughts. Your imagination creates your reality. If you can be successful fast or slowly, which way do you want to go? If it can be easy or hard, which way do you want to do it? The answer is obvious, isn't it? Isn't that what Christ said? "My yoke is easy and my burden is light." Matthew chapter 11, verse 30. It's not the weather that should determine your reality. It's your mental state, because your state of mind creates your results. Who owns your state of mind? You do. One person can make a difference if they see themselves making a difference. Can you see yourself making a difference? Punch through your doubts. The minute you decide to take a stand and make a difference, are you going to get attacked? Yes, and the first things that are going to attack you are your own doubt thoughts. You never did that before. What makes you think you can do it now? Who the heck do you think you are? Most of us keep unconsciously reiterating everything we've heard, which maintains the pattern of our lives. Your body is a pattern in integrity. If you are over 25 years old, you have taken in over 1,000,000 pounds of food, but you don't weigh 1,000,000 pounds. Thank God. It comes in and goes out. There's a magical flow. There's an ingress and an egress. This pattern in integrity is you, but it's set up in the higher dimensions of mind. This has to do with sacred psychology, which goes beyond the ordinary plebeian psychologies. At the beginning of the 20th century, the great psychologist and philosopher William James said, "Parted from us by the flimsiest of screens are realities that you can't even suspect until you punch through them." Where will you punch through them? At the level of mind, what you think about comes about, and it comes in an affirmative state. What we're really looking for is ahas. I've already mentioned Dr. Gene Houston, who I would say is the grand master of visualization. Her father was one of the head humor writers for Bob Hope. As a girl, she was always getting in trouble with the Catholic Church because her mind was so expansive. Jean used to go for walks in Central Park, and almost daily she would run into a wonderful snow-haired man who just talked to her. She didn't learn his name at first, but he turned out to be the great anthropologist and theologian Pierre Teilhard de Chardin. Can you imagine a little 7-year-old walking her dog, getting to talk with Teilhard de Chardin, and learning about what he called the phenomenon of man? Later, somebody gave her one of his books, And she said, "That's my best friend. That's the guy I've spent my conscious time thinking with." Anyhow, she does the cosmic dance of life as well as anyone else, and she takes people through the process of sacred psychology. Here's what Jean Houston says. Visualization facilitates mental imaging and effective thought generation. I'd add that it'll also give you the facility to regenerate thought. It allows you to return to your spiritual source, so you can search for the beloved of your soul. Where is the real place to find love? Inside or outside? Inside. It's your own home entertainment center, and it could be the most exquisite place to live. The teacher of my teacher, R. Buckminster Fuller, was Albert Einstein. I love this story about Einstein. He's walking across the Princeton campus one day. A young student walks up and says, "Professor, can I ask you a question?" "Anything," he says. He answers it laboriously for about an hour and a half. At the end, Einstein says, "Young man, can I ask you a question?" "What is it?" "When we got together, was I going this way or that way?" "Professor, you were going that way. Why do you ask?" "Good. Then I've had breakfast." Bucky Fuller said that the first time he met Einstein, he just glowed. Why? Because he was a very high consciousness individual. His head lived in the stars, or in the universe. Maybe he didn't have the right accoutrements or sartorial splendor, but his emanations were those of the high states of consciousness, high states of cosmology and cosmogony. I'm going to talk about some of these in this book. Now say aloud, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's a form of meditation that anyone can do. And after a couple of times, you're likely to feel a transcendent experience. The reason is that you get out of normal day-to-day thinking and up-level yourself with one meditative mantra. Isn't that fun? Jean says it will allow you to extend your body. I have watched as Jean has hypnotized a non-musical nun to play Mozart's unfinished concerto, so there is vast unrealized and unexplored potential in each of us. Visualization is one of the avenues that grants us access into higher dimensions of our own mind. In Orange County, California, there is a 7-year-old kid that I've watched. He can put his feet on top of a book and read that book for you as well as you can with physical sight. And he is totally blind. These technologies, methodologies, and potentialities have existed for a long time. A lot of people say, that's woo-wee stuff. It's not. Your body is not limited to your physicality, unless your mind is limited to your physicality. The trouble is, we've grown to think that we are, but we're not. I'm more than my physicality, more than my mentality. We have been given the ability to create and contribute using our free will that was given to us. See Genesis chapter 1, verses 27 to 28. Touch yourself right now and say, I am more than my physicality. I am more than my mentality. I am God's greatest masterpiece. See Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10. If you're more than who you think you are, you can do all sorts of wonderful things. The first time I learned how to extend myself out of my body, I was in India. I had amoebic dysentery. A little guru visiting with me was teaching me how to have out-of-body experiences. And he said, "My dear man, if you don't want to feel the pain, you transfer it out of your body. You say, why don't I take it and put it 2 feet out of my body? You'll spend the rest of the morning putting the pain 2 feet out of your body, and you won't feel it anymore." Thank God, I said, because I think I'm going to die if it stays. I learned how to take that pain and put it out of my body. You can do lots of stuff, but what do most people do if they've got pains? They want to talk about them, They want to reiterate them. They say, "Oh, my ache. Oh my God, it's so bad. You don't know how bad it is." And they get their payoff by talking about their pain. What do they get? They get more pain. Why not focus on something else? Your mind can only think one thought at a time, although it can think quite a few in relatively rapid sequence. So limit your thought to, "I am pain-free." If you don't like the situation you are in, put yourself in a situation that you would like by visualizing it, by living in the feeling and assumption of your wish fulfilled. A while ago, I was flying across country. I had as my seatmate Nobel Prize winner Dr. Milton Friedman, chairman of the economics department at the University of Chicago. We got into some extremely turbulent air. We were sitting up in front, where you get less rocking, but that didn't help any. The plane was jumping up and down, and it made me believe in the terra firma. The more firma, the less terror. That thing was doing wave pulsation at 200 and 300 feet at a shot, and it was scaring me. I turned to Friedman and said, "Look, my dear friend, you can only think one thought at a time." "I've never heard that. Are you sure?" You can think a lot of thoughts in sequence, but the mind is a non-simultaneous mechanism. You can only think one thought at a time. Therefore, let's think about something other than regurgitating or getting sick. At that time, Friedman was the economic advisor to Ronald Reagan. He said, "The interesting thing here is that when I talk, you take notes. When you talk, I take notes. When I talk at the university, everybody takes notes. But when I go in to talk to the president, he's the only guy that doesn't take notes. It unnerves me a little bit. I get to talk to him for 7, 9, or 12 minutes. An amazing thing is, he's got 22 other advisors that come in every Monday, laying down the way the world works, and somehow he integrates all that himself. He doesn't take notes, there is no tape recorder, and nobody else is in there with us. The guy's got an incredible mind. He has learned how to have perfect retention." "What do you think about that?" I asked. "Did you ever ask him?" "Yeah," he said. "He programs himself to perfect retention of what he wants." Right now, touch yourself and say, "I've got perfect retention of what I want." That's perfected visualization to realization. After all, you don't want to remember the bad stuff. That's why women who have gone through childbirth do not remember the pain of labor. Otherwise, they would not do it twice. As the famous comedian Carol Burnett has said, if men want to know how painful childbirth is, they should take their lower lip and stretch it up over the top of their head. You have greatness in you. Genius gives you an amplified mind. Why operate with a plebeian mind? Our school system says we have to have everybody learn exactly the same things. That is an asinine model. Once I addressed a gathering of school principals in California. I was not being critical of them. I was being critical of the system. They gave me a 15-minute standing ovation. Then they hired me to do 6 different major projects, one of which was to get the unrepresented students, such as Indians, Hispanics, and Blacks, represented in the system. I said, H. Ross Perot is one of the 5 great heroes in America right now, and he's using amplified mind power. He's figured out how to pay teachers $100,000 each down in Texas to be great and inspiring. We don't need garbage teachers. We need great, inspiring teachers. Every one of us needs to operate at our highest, best, noblest, and most important levels. Greatness is intrinsic within us. Right now, jab yourself in the chest and say, "I've got greatness in me." It's when you start claiming that you're great that you get tuned in and turned on to your highest and best. It's what Paul said. Think on these things, the things that are noble, lovely, beautiful, and of good report. Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. That's when the mind wakes up. That's when you unzip the old and you let it go, just as a snake gets rid of the old skin. Right now, pretend that you have a zipper from your crown of your head, called in India your crown chakra or energy zone, and take it right down to your crotch. Imagine yourself zipping off the old skin like a snake. Say, I'm zipping off the old, and I'm taking it off right now. I'm leaving it here, and I'm not picking it up. And I've got a shiny, bright exterior and interior. I sparkle. I'm repletely and completely beautiful. I know that I know that I know. I am the new me. That's the point of having an amplified mind. I've mentioned H. Ross Perot. When he was working with IBM in 1962, he sold his annual quota in the first 19 days. IBM, which wasn't programmed right at that juncture, said, "Good, you're retired for the rest of the year." For God's sake! When somebody is productive and creative and resourceful and hits their goals, what do? Don't retire them. Give them bigger goals. Perot said, "Look, if you guys won't let me work and you're going to pay me, then I'll create my own company." They said, "If you think you can do that, go do it." Perot started Electronic Data Systems, EDS. He called on 80 people to help him, and they all said no. Now, most people quit the first time they hear no. When my hero, Thomas Alva Edison, was interviewed by inspirational author Napoleon Hill, Hill said, "My God, my man, you failed 10,000 times." Edison said, "Whoa, I never failed. I had 10,000 learning experiences. I ran out of ways that wouldn't work. I finally had to find a way that it would." That's the principle we're looking for. The 81st person Perot called on was Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who bought Perot's model the first time he heard it. That was a gross sale of $4 million. Divide $8 million by 80 calls, and you see that Perot got paid the equivalent of $50,000 for every time he heard no and his thoughtful proposal was rejected. Perot told me he could see it in his mind and worked to realize it with self-disciplined action to achieve a result. Later, he sold the company to GM, General Motors, for $2.5 billion. Visualization means metaphorically creating the acorn of what you desire, and in your mind seeing it grow into a giant oak tree. In Perot's case, a future multi-billion-dollar acquisition. Note: my definition of an entrepreneur is someone who solves a problem for a vast profit. Perot was a perfect entrepreneur who used his brilliant problem-solving abilities for many outcomes, as we will continue to discuss. What did Perot sell? He sold the concept. Where was it? In his mind. The point is, if anyone can have great concepts, everyone can. So Perot started EDS and did exceedingly well. At one point he had people in Iran. After the revolution there, when the Ayatollah Khomeini came to power, they put 2 of Perot's people in the slammer. At that time we had a government that was ineffectual in getting back prisoners. So Perot had a masterful idea. He said, "I'm going to get with the best guy that can get this done." He got a former Army colonel, Arthur Bull Simons, who led a 1970 raid on a POW camp in North Vietnam. Perot went over there himself. Bull Simons said, "Look, you're a billionaire. You don't need to do this." "It's not a question of need," Perot said. "I want to. I'm the guy who put those people at risk. I'm the one who has the obligation. They were working for me. They were an extension of what my dream was. And as long as they're in prison, I've got to do everything within my power to get them out." He sprang not only his own prisoners, but all the others who were in the same prison. Ken Follett tells the story in his book Wings of Eagles, which was made into a movie. Do you have a friend who would do that for you? Do you have one friend that you could call right now who would give you $5,000, $100,000, or whatever your giant need is? God forbid you should need it. I've written a fair number of co-authored books and plan to do a whole lot more because it leverages me and gets things done in a nanosecond. Because, as I said, if you have the choice of doing it fast or slow, you want to do it fast. I co-wrote a book with Don Dibble, who also wrote the bestseller Up Your Own Organization. One morning we were sitting at breakfast and said, "How can we make each other $1 million?" We decided to do a book series called Build a Better You Starting Now, and it went wondrously well. Then Don went into the seminar business. Unfortunately, he had a glitch in the road. One day he went bankrupt. He had 11,000 creditors. He went down for $10 million. Because a lot of people knew that he and I are close friends, they called and said, "I hope you're not going down with him." What a bizarre thing to say, I thought. Here's the principle, though. Good news travels fast. Bad news travels faster. I called Don Dibble because I'd gone bankrupt myself. I told him, "I understand the pain and anguish and torment you're going through. They're going to go for your jugular. They're going to take every ounce of your spirit away from you in a very short time. Because of my love and affection for you, I don't want anything from you, but I want to serve you this way. I'd like you, your wife Allison, and your son Max to be our house guests this weekend. Don't give the phone number to anyone else, especially your attorney, because if they can't get you, they're going to go for him, and he's going to go back to you. 2 weeks from now, I've already bought your tickets. We're taking you to our condo in Hawaii. I just want you to have a place to rest and relax." In my book, Dare to Win, I point out that when your self-worth goes up, your net worth goes up. The danger is that when your net worth goes down, we let our self-worth go down. I'm not bragging about myself in this story. I'm asking, do you have a terrific friend who, if God forbid you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, will support you even before you ask? As the verse in Isaiah says, "Before you ask, I will have answered." Isaiah chapter 65, verse 24. Assuming you're asking rightly. Integrating head and heart. All of this comes out of amplified mind, which will give you a compassionate heart. When we make a hard decision, our head says, "No, that's not a good idea. It's going to come back on you super bad, baby." When you're doing your head stuff, you think with your wallet. You figure out what you can't do rather than on what you can do. As long as you're figuring out what you can't do, you won't do it. You need to figure out how your heart is and integrate it with your head. That's why the Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. When a lot of people study metaphysics, they think, "I can just trip out on the head stuff, and it's going to be wonderful." It isn't. The goal is to operate from your heart chakra, your heart energy zone, and then take massive action in the right direction. The inspirational preacher Reverend Ike used to say, "Let your fulfillment proceed your fulfillment by being full of fulthrillment," meaning get thrilled and excited about whatever you want in advance of having it. Then you'll vibrationally synchronize in time and space with the good that you desire, which you do in visualization. You have to expectantly and feelingly believe that it is true before it is actually and tangibly true. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between imagined reality and reality, but it acts on the feeling nature of your belief. So what you deeply and fervently impress, you will ultimately and inevitably express. Later, I'm going to describe the inner steps of visualization. One is, where is your feeling nature? When people don't have enough money,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?